So the first is numeration from 1 to 10. And I think it's important that Dr. Kaspari called the math avenue not just math, but early preparation of the mathematical mind. So we always keep in mind that we're not teaching a curriculum, we're helping the child develop. And that's where Maria Montessori's brilliance, and I think many people don't understand. They think it's a better way to teach. Yes, it is, but that's not the point. The point is the interior development of each child to the best that child is capable of. And
they take different lengths of time to do different parts of the sequence depending on what they need. Yeah.
That's right. So, you know, in Montessori, there's 4 basic avenues. There's practical life, sensorial, language, and math. Math doesn't begin right away. It begins maybe 4-6 months after the child has entered the classroom and has developed kind of a sense of order and certain logical abilities to concentrate and focus his attention, so that, because math is rather demanding and it requires a certain sense of order right from the beginning. So we begin with the beautiful numerical rods, and these go from 10 centimeters up to a meter. And this little girl is just working on the second one. You can see how carefully she's carrying it and examining it. Then she's going to put it down on the carpet.
So there is a sensitive period here, isn't there? At approximately what age do you think this would normally happen?
3.5 to 4.
Okay.
Maybe a little earlier for some children. You know, some Montessori preschools start with 2.5-year-olds and some start with 3-year-olds. And you kind of just have to watch the children when there's certain things that are prerequisite to math, including something we'll look at a little bit later called the long rods. But when a child is interested and ready, he loves to repeat. And you'll see this wonderful concentration. So the little girl is going to set all 10 rods out, and then she's going to bring the first 3 down, or I as a teacher am going to bring the first 3 down and do what we call the 3-period lesson. And the 3-period lesson is a very simple way that you can teach numerical quantity, you can teach vocabulary, you can teach objects, the names of anything. Anyway, first the child, we put our hand on the first rod and say 1. We put our hand on the 2 sections of the second rod. 1, 2. That's 2. And now we're starting on the 3 rod. 1, 2, 3. We pat each section. This is 3. Then the second period of the 3-period lesson is simply, can you show me 2? And the child will look, can you pat the sections? Can you show me 1? Can you touch it? Can you show me 3? Can you pat the sections? So we go to the 3rd period and you point at one of those and ask the child, what is this? So it is a wonderful, wonderful technique. So here we're isolating the quantities. The child might be done after the first 3, or he might want to do 4, 5, and 6. Then you kind of do 1 through 6 as a kind of gathering together, and then go on to 7, 8, 9, and 10. So it may take days, or it may be all in one day. You never know.
Depending on the child.
Depending on the child. So in Montessori, we follow a principle called isolation of difficulty. So the first difficulty we isolated and gave to the child was counting the quantities. Now we're going to identify the symbol. And we do it with sandpaper numbers that are very similar to the sandpaper letters that we have in our language program. So here we just trace it the way we would write it and say 1. You know, one of the beautiful things about Montessori is we don't have a lot of extraneous words. The child doesn't have to figure out which word is important here. This is 1. 1. Can you say 1?
1.
It's very simple. Then we do the association. So in Montessori, we have a basic path that we follow. First we do quantity, then we do symbol, and then we do the association. So now the child is putting little wooden numeral cards up against the long rods or the numerical rods that she's built, and she sees 9, and the numeral 9 goes with it.
Marianne, I'd really like to hear you comment a little bit more on this, the concept of repetition and why it is so important, and the awareness that it is really important for a teacher to have.
Well, you know, the important part about repetition is that it's spontaneous. Children will spontaneously repeat something that they are in the process of grasping or have newly grasped. They're fascinated with it. That internal repetition is something that Montessori observed. And when she first saw it, she said it shattered all of her previous beliefs about what a child was capable of doing. She not only saw extended concentration, but she saw this repetition of the same activity over and over and over again until something inside the child was filled up and he was satisfied. You know, in one of her books, she likens it to a thirsty man. So if you're a thirsty person, it's not enough to watch somebody drink. It's not enough to watch a teacher put numbers on a chalkboard. It's not enough to watch the teacher drinking. You have to drink yourself, and you have to drink until your organism is full. And that's exactly what repetition is. It's giving the child enough repetitions until his organism is filled. And it's really interesting because many times, as soon as the child gets a concept, that's when he wants to start repeating it. The teacher's tendency might be as soon as the child gets it, we move him along to the next step. But we allow him to repeat until he's inwardly satisfied. It kind of consolidates, I think, that information that he's newly gained.
That assimilation process.
That's right.
Yeah.
So some children will repeat 4 or 5 times. Some children will repeat 40 or 50 times. And that's where the true art of a Montessori teacher is observing the child and understanding when he's ready to move on and not preempt that readiness.
Don't shortcut the process.
Yeah, don't shortcut the process.